Welcome to this module on pivot tables. In this session, you will learn about a handy way to interrogate and summarize data, and you will explore different questions from the Afrobarometer survey. Pivot tables. Excel gives the ability to quickly summarize data. The tool that allows this is called a pivot table or summary table, which creates an interactive cross tabulation of the data by category. To explore how it works, let's first revisit the perception survey from Afrobarometer. In this dataset, each row represents a respondent who answered the survey and their responses to the survey questions. The questions are represented in the column headers. Let's see how summarization works. First, let's just look at how many respondents we had in the survey overall. As you can see on the screen, overall, there are 2,400 respondent records in the survey dataset. In order to do this, we click Insert, then Pivot Table. In this, we want to count how many respondents there are in the dataset. Each of them will have the title RESPNO, respondent number. So we pick that variable and drag it to the values box. Dragging this to the values box shows us that once again, overall, there are 2,400 respondent records in the survey dataset. One of the variables we have is whether the respondent is coming from an urban or rural area. Let's see the breakdown of respondents by urban/rural areas. For this, we'll use the same pivot table we just created and add the urban or rural variable. We drag the urban or rural variable to the column box. Then, we move over the urban or rural variable from the list to the rows box. Can we check this as percentage? Right-click on one of the values in the table, choose Show Values As. As the numbers are ordered in a column, choose percentage of column total. We can see that 64.33%, about 2/3 of respondents, are coming from a rural area, and about 35% from an urban area. As this is a representative sample, this largely corresponds to how the entire Kenyan population is divided between urban and rural. Let's check a more interesting question. How much of a democracy Kenya is, according to the respondents? Let's remove our previous variable and add the question. In your opinion, how much of a democracy is Kenya today? Then we can select the urban percent of the column total. We go to the pivot table fields and select the question on the opinion about democracy, and then we can check the urban percent of the column total. Let's find another one. Let's remove our previous variable and add the question. In your opinion, how often in this country does the president ignore the courts and laws of this country? Once again, we go to the pivot tables, remove the previous field, and add in this new field. Once we have done this, we're able to check the different correspondence for this based on the percentage totals. Do respondents in rural and urban areas think differently about this? By adding the urban or rural question to our columns, we can compare the answers from people residing in urban versus rural areas. Adding the urban or rural respondents, we can see that respondents in rural areas seem a bit more optimistic. 47% of them say that they think the president never ignores the laws, while only 40% of urban respondents thought this. Almost 15% of urban respondents thought that the president often ignores the laws, while this was on 11% for rural respondents. Do you remember our analysis from the last lesson? What did Kenyans say about officials' impunity? How often do officials who commit crimes go unpunished? We can once again check this from our pivot table by removing the previous field, removing the columns on the urban and rural, and going to this question. From this, once again, we're able to see the percentage totals for the different respondent groups that we have. So, what's next? We're going to deepen our understanding of pivot tables, then try our new skills in a data analysis activity. Thanks for engaging in this module and see you in the next one.